I'm back on the mic again, which is amazing. It's been a while. Though I'm very, very sad that I was listening to, I already recorded this video, it was like 27 minutes, and then I listened to it and I hear my mic, like all the equipment making all this clackety clackety clack sound. And it was a lot. It was enough to the point where I was like, let me just record again, because all this clackety clackety clack sound is too much. So I've had this thought for a while now, but it's something that sometimes in my life is more prominent than others, and right now it's more prominent than, some other times it's been. And that thought is, all we have is time. That's all we have as humans, as any living organism. All we have is time, because everybody's gonna die, right? So I've been thinking how our time is spent, how I spend my time, what I decide to allocate my time to, what other people decide to allocate their time to, how that affects me and other people, and as well as society in general, how they decide to spend their time, and these companies and brands and businesses who try very hard to determine how the common people are going to spend their time. And because it's a capitalistic society, and it's run by businesses, and there's nothing wrong with this, because I'm not saying there's let me reword that. I don't believe it's inherently wrong, at least right now. It's just for me, because I have this YouTube channel, right? I would like people to allocate time to listening to my videos if they feel they can relate to it. So I'm also a part of it. What I find very peculiar is how, I wouldn't even say peculiar, but just something that I notice a lot, and I find, it's just not for me, is how like advertisements are everywhere, for example, and when you walk outside you see advertisements for this and that, and how you should get this and get that, and even on social media, on TV, there's always advertisements, right? And telling you that you should allocate time to buying this because it'll make your life better, or you will fit in, or you'll look cooler. And it's very interesting to me, because the aspects that in life that I feel like matter more, at least in my perception, such as true politics. Like when it comes to elections in the US, you have two major parties. Those are your choices. But when it comes to going to the store, you have thousands of pairs of shoes to choose from, or thousands of brands of jams to choose from. And then when it comes to schools, what schools are you going to go put your kids into? I think of the three major choices is public, private, and homeschooling. And that's it for the most part. There's some other schools here and there, but that's the majority of what's available to people. And but when it comes to like I said, once again, going to the store, you have all these flavors of chips, all these different types of chips. You have all these flavors of ice cream, and 31 flavors, right? So it makes me think, like, it makes me really think, what truly matters in this life? What truly encompasses our life? What are we going to really think about when we're on our deathbed? Because, do products in our life truly make us happy? I'm sure some do. I know there's definitely products that make everybody happy, including myself. Like, that's not... There is products that make us happy. There's it's not all one-sided, all good, all bad. However, when it comes to, even when it comes to jobs, technically you have a lot of options, right? But it dwindles depending on your experience and your schooling level. That's what it really comes down to. And of course, like your geographical location as well. And but then when it comes to streaming services, which show are you going to watch? Oh, there's a bunch of options of shows to watch after you get back from your job. Or before, if you have time. And isn't that so... That's so interesting to me. It's very, very interesting how that works. Like, I feel as though, at least when I look around my immediate surroundings and then when I go outside and see society in general, I feel as though a lot of this life, at least in the US from what I see, is set up as a distraction from the apparatus, the system you're in as an adult. And I know some people are probably going to be like, oh, well, that's a 20-year-old talking for you, or that's, or you complain too much, or whatever it is. Or maybe you relate to me. But I'm overthinking, right? A lot of people love to use the word overthinking. You're overthinking this. But there's something to be gained, right? Because it's businesses at the end of the day. There's something to be gained from this business advertising to you on the street. This business getting to you on social media. There's, like, obviously, just like anybody, like, I have something to gain from, from having products, right? Like, I make money if I want to write a book. I want to write a book because I love writing, right? Or this is me. And I want to make money off of it because money, everything in this life encompasses money. So that's the reality. And most of this life encompasses money, which is a whole separate video that I can talk about money. But yeah, so it's very interesting to me how people decide to use their time and how marketers try to pitch themselves, try to market themselves to steering you in a direction of how to spend your time through pre-packaged information, pre-packaged programs. What I mean by this is is streaming services, social media, that's advertisements outside. That's what I mean by prepackaged information. Like, especially like what's trending, like, oh, you should watch this show because it's trending, or you should look at this post, it's trending, or do this because it's trending, wear that because it's in. And the reason I really ruminate through this is because it makes me wonder, like, what is it that, like, what life do I truly want? And also, when I get to be, if I make it to old age and I'm about to die, like, what is it gonna be that I think about in my last moments? I think about, what made my life meaningful? What truly made my life something that I could say I look at and I'm like, I am proud I did that. I'm glad I did that, and when I think about it, for me right now, I like to consume content too, like most people. Like I don't I want the ratio to be different. I want to be creating more than I consume, but I consume content, and lately I've been consuming more than creating. And I really want to change this because I don't believe it's inherently wrong to consume content, because that's how I learn about different topics. That's how I learn is through consuming. I also want to be mindful of the content I consume, and I try to take it in a similar way to what I eat. Like I want to be conscious about what I eat, just like what I see. I want to be conscious of that, and which is ironic because I don't exercise, but I want to be aware of this because now that I'm here, now that I'm alive, I want to make a conscious effort to live a life that, whether it's most people agree or accept it or not, I believe to truly live the life I want to live, whether it's accepted or not, is going to be hard in certain ways for me, definitely, because it is going in some ways against the societal norms. However, it's all we have is time, as I mentioned before. Time is everything in this life. You allocate time to what you want to allocate time to, what you have to allocate time to, right? And that's what I find so fascinating. A lot of people have to allocate time to a job. Like, oh, you don't have to have a job. You have a choice, right? But most people do have to have a job, right? To pay for basic needs, unless you want to die. Like, unless you're telling these people, like, if you want water, shelter, food, especially water and food, like, if you can't afford that, and I'm not going to really get into like the programs. I know there's programs out there to help low-income people and families who need assistance, right? And that's fine. But you still you're still going to, there's going to be ways in society that you're going to either need to conform to, or you're going to live a life in maybe isolation or something similar to that. And isolation is certainly not always bad. I actually, think it could be great for most people, but especially for me. But I don't want to be isolated all the time, right? And so it's, all we have is time in this life, and I want to use my time how I truly want to use it. And I feel as though a lot of the life is set up where the adult life, where you either go to college or you go to work, you come back from school, you come back from your job, and then you have either you study or you have time sort of to yourself, or maybe you have to do some other stuff for your job, and then when you do that, when you come back from your school or from your job, it makes me, I think, how much time do people truly allocate to doing introspection, to really sitting with themselves without any devices near them, any sounds, just this natural sounds? How much time do people allocate to calling somebody they care about or messaging somebody they care about? And it's because to me, this is what truly makes life meaningful. It's the introspection. It's the doing activities that I truly enjoy. It's about contacting people I care about. I'm not the best at it. And it varies, of course, depending on your relationship with that person. Like, I don't contact family usually as I would contact friends. Like, it varies, you know, and that's fine. But, you know, trying my best to make it known to people I care about that I care about for them, that I care for them. And trying not to take our time or relationship for granted. And that's interesting, right? Because, you know, we have these cell phones. Everybody has a cell phone. Most people have a cell phone, right? And yet a lot of people, as I mentioned before, and I'm going to mention it in the future again in another video, feel very lonely and disconnected from those around them. And when they get on their cell phones and they try to connect with people either in person or online, they end up feeling sometimes lonely again. And it's almost like I think it's a cycle. It definitely is a cycle for most people. And I just find I take this all in, and I really try to think about it, because it's just, you know, or I don't even know if I tried really hard to think about it, or I feel like it comes naturally to me, not because I'm better than somebody else, better than people who don't think about this. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm trying to be arrogant. It's just like, I think from a young age, I've been somebody who's, I guess, kind of like looked past surface level, just looked past the surface in life. And so, and of course not all the time, but I think, you know, there's been a decent amount of times I just look past the surface and I'm like, okay, and it just came kind of to me. It wasn't like I tried super hard to think about it, if that makes sense. And, you know, because I also think about how many times do you, whoever's listening to this, how many times do you look at the clock, look at the time? How many times do you ask somebody, what time is it? Like, am I the only one who looks at the clock a lot, like more than I think I should, especially on the weekdays because of my job, right? But does anybody else like look at the clock or the time like excessively, or they feel like they're looking at it excessively? I mean, at least I do. Whether people, I know I feel that way. So, and I'm just thinking like, wow, like I am just looking at this clock excessively, like, and because, like I said, this whole video is just about time, right? Like, all we have is time. Like, for this, depending on how I decide to spend this hour, you know, is it going to make me feel proud about myself? Is it going to make me feel good about myself? Is it going to make me feel like I'm fighting with myself? Like, you know, like, you know, how is it going to make me feel? And though I do believe that I do look at the clock sometimes too much, and this could also pose a problem as well, because even with this, like, thinking about this, at least, I'm not going to be perfect all the time with how I allocate my time. For me, it's just about getting better about how I allocate my time, because I feel like I could definitely be better about how I decide to spend my time. And, you know, and I also don't hold other people to a standard of, like, of perfection when it comes to time allocation. Because, like, it's not going to be perfect for everybody, right? It's, like, first you have to be aware of it, and then, you know, take action if you're going to take action. And just, you know, and for me, I also when I decide, like, okay, when I think about time, just time, I'm like, you know what, but I also want to measure it against myself. I mean, maybe sometimes I can measure it against other people, but mainly I just want the time I allocate to be measured with myself and against myself. Am I proud about how I spent my time? Not do other people accept it, or are other people proud of me? Of course, it's nice to have other people be proud of me, and I'm not saying that I will never take other people's advice about how I should spend my time, or I'll never ask. Like, I think it's fine, but sometimes, for me at least, it's a slippery slope, because I'll ask somebody, okay, did I spend my time wisely, or should I spend my time better? And they, whatever they say, like, it's if they say, like, oh, but you could have done this or done that, I guess it's also about the person, your relationship with them. Like, it's fine. I think I just, in the past, because, in one of the aspects being because of social media, I compared myself a lot to people on social media. So I try not to compare myself too much in, I think, really any aspect in my life, but, you know, and obviously one of them being how I allocate my time, because, I mean, everybody has their own life. We're all individuals, right? We're all going to die. So however you spend your time doesn't have much to do with how I spend my time, because you have you have a different idea in your mind for how you want to live your life. You have a different path you want to take. You have, or maybe you have a similar one or the same one to mine, but even then we can still have differences in how we think or how we operate, and that's fine. And so I just try to just find that middle area where it's like, I can take what people say, their constructive feedback of how to allocate my time better, but also not go into a spiral of comparison. So yeah, it's and I think I mentioned this earlier, how I feel like also there's so much around us, that so many entities, I'm just going to call them entities around us, trying to steer the common people in a direction of, you should use your time to go to the shopping mall, or you should use your time to do this and do that, which inherently is not, once again, bad. However, like I said, I feel like a lot of this life is a distraction. Like, a lot of the entertainment we see, I feel like, is a distraction, or that the media pushes out. I feel like a lot of it's a distraction. I feel like the news is that's a whole nother topic. I mean, the news, it's a corporation, it's a business at the end of it all. So there, I feel like so I feel like the social media is a distraction. Because I feel like through these ways, there is a way to definitely connect with somebody authentically and deeply, or even learn something about yourself, or do something for yourself. Like, for example, without YouTube, I wouldn't be creating this video right now, or I couldn't share it, right? So on YouTube, maybe there would be something else similar. But do you get the point? Like, I'm not saying YouTube or all of these platforms we shouldn't use them. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is just that I believe people should really really think deeply about how they use their time, what they allocate it to, and how it can affect other people too. Those they say they care about, for example, how could it affect them? And because, when I die, if I make it to old age and I die naturally of old age, I want to be able to think about the time, how I spent my time, and be like, you know what, I'm proud that I spent my time this way for the most part, or I'm glad I did this and did that. other than me realizing, like, wow, I didn't even try to do what I wanted to do. I just consumed most of my life. I just did what is the standard, or what society says is the standard, or I just, I just gave up. Like, that's not what I want for myself. And so, and I'm young now, so I'm trying to, create. I know exactly what I want. I know exactly how I want to spend my time. It's just about getting there and allocating the time, right, to get there. Because, everything in this life is just all about the time. Everything in this life is just about time. And, so yeah, this is a video that everybody can relate to, though not everybody's going to see it, right? But it's something that, if you like this video, it would be nice if you press the like button. And if you feel like this would resonate with somebody, share it with them. It would resonate with everybody, of course, right? And, but if you have somebody that isn't going to die, it's just immortal, then I would not advise you sending them this. I mean, maybe they'll kind of sort of enjoy it, but I don't see how it's going to be relatable at all to them. So just don't even send it to somebody that is immortal. And thank you for listening if you listened to the end.